Hi, everybody. Well, I think welcome to our last indoor episode. We have a lot, I think there'll be a lot of good things that we'll be getting into as far as plants developing through the spring. We'll be looking at the emergence of perennials in some of the next YouTubes. And the thing about emergence is all the different textures and colors of foliage as the plants come out of the ground and how they can be combined with various bulb layers. But on our last show today, indoors, I wanted to do some more grid work. I had some nice comments about maybe doing a few more of the images out of my book. So I took two more photos that were in the book, and we're going to do some grid layouts on the game board. But the first thing I wanted to go over with you was how do you approach who you are doing this? You know, a lot of times I'm just sharing with you what I do. But I think I'm always questioning myself, who am I and what am I trying to accomplish? Not just in gardening, but try to accomplish in what I come to know about plants and about plant relationships. So I'm always questioning what is it I know and what is it I need to keep trying to understand. And I think sometimes what I fall back on is what I don't know. And I realize I must not know a lot of stuff. And I think you probably have to agree with me. There has to be so many things you don't know. And you don't really want to live in that world. Who wants to live in the world of I don't know? But sometimes living in the world of what you don't know pushes you so far forward into all the wonderful things you can find out and keep adding value to who it is you'd like to become and what it is you'd like to share with other people. As I took a walk through the kettle moraine the other day, and I realized as I was in the kettle moraine, I'm totally out of human scale. Usually when I'm in the city or right here in Lake Geneva, everything I live within is in human scale. The concrete, the buildings, the cars, the stoplights, the shores, the shops, the food stores. Everywhere I go, I'm in human scale. So there's nothing really that is uniquely different to what I believe and what I see. And when I get in the kettle moraine, I was at a black oak savanna, hillside black oak savanna. And as I walked through that, the ground layer plants were just emerging through the leaves. This was probably last week. And I'm looking at every tree, every black oak. Not one is the same. Not one black oak is branched the same way, is leaning the same way. Some are 2 to 3 feet apart. There's so much uniqueness in nature. So as I walk through it, that really just caught my attention. And it has before, but I think this time of year it's very dramatic because one, it's spring. And in spring we're much more excited and emotional about what we're moving into than any time of year as far as gardening. So with that, I just wanted to share that with you. And instead of 2 questions, I have 4 short questions. And the first one is, and maybe you can help explain this to me on some of your comments, why are there rules for planting and caring for plants? Who made up these rules? I think a lot of times we just make up rules because we don't know what to do. And we look at a plant, we believe it's successfully living. I mean, I go right back to wood mulch. Who in the world thought that putting volumes of wood around woody and herbaceous plants was a good idea? But the irony of it is no one's ever questioned it. And there's some of you out there that will say, well, geez, Roy, well, you got to hold your water in, and plants have been self-mulching since they appeared on Earth. There was no need for accumulated wood. So there's all these rules that we keep living into, and they're not allowing us to adopt and create change within our planting systems. We're still doing the same thing over. I saw a large group of native plants put in, and they were surrounded by wood chips that were probably 2 by 3 inches square. So still, the native plant component was there for a passionate native plant person. They put the native plants in, and their selection of plants were all thugs and bullies. So I'm looking at what they're going to end up with. They're going to end up with a lot of big blue stem and a lot of Indian grass. And eventually the Solidago canadensis will show up, and that's going to be the native planting. The Asclepias tuberosa is not going to have a chance because it's not in relationship with those particular plants in the right percentage of planting. So we really, modestly, we don't have any idea how we're putting plant communities, plant relationships together. Now you do, and I'm talking to someone out there who thinks, you know what, I know what I'm doing. And God bless you too, that you know what you're doing. You know what, I'll look right at myself, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But I know, based on what I'm seeing as far as relationships, that I'm getting to a point where the plant relationships I'm creating seem to need less human input. So if I can get to a direction with less human input and look at dynamics taking place and work with those dynamics that the plants are representing based on the relationship they're in, I feel comfortable. But then I freely have to look at the things I don't know and keep taking these walks through nature and look for these remnants and keep seeing how these remnants can show me some of the things that I still have to learn about social relationships of plants, and talk with people that are successful, doing things at a very good level, and they keep learning too. And there's so many people out there looking at these plant relationships that I enjoy talking to and reading their books and talking, like Cassian Schmidt. He's constantly looking at plant relationships, and Bettina, his wife. They're at a very high level because they're constantly observing, looking, and changing their style of planting. Pete Outhoff turned 80. He's still curious about plant relationships and changing and looking at something he's done and changing things he's done from past to future. So it's always that curious element that we have to live in. Curiosity and then consistency with being curious. So I thought I'd show you, we go over this grid here. And the idea is each one of you sitting there, think about 3 plants you think you know well. Whatever they may be, native plant, non-native, good perennial, solid perennial, just 3 herbaceous perennial plants that you know well. And then I have a grid paper here. Get some grid paper or anything that you can use scale on, and I've lined out 144 square feet. So the idea is take those 3 plants you know well, write them down, and again, be comfortable with what you know about them as much as you've come to know them as a best friend. And when you write them down, combine them in that 144 to 150 square foot planting area and see how you relate them to each other into a plant community. And let me know how your mind starts working. Let yourself know how your mind starts working, because often you should not be thinking about flower color or bloom time. Right away, your mind is looking at the growth rate and growth habit of those plants and how they'll relate to each other as they grow into each other. Because when you know the plants that well, that's the first thing your mind is going to go to. How are these relationships going to be created? What percentage of each plant are you going to use based on how they're going to relate to each other as they grow into each other from youth to maturity? So I picked 3 plants here. I've got Galenia trifoliata, I've got Coreopsis verticillata Electric Avenue, and I've got Stakey's Summer Crush. So I'm just quickly going to look at the 144 square feet, and it becomes emotional. What is it I want to represent with this piece? I call it a piece of artwork, as I'm doing something artistically now, creating this pattern. How do I want to represent these plants together in this design? So I look at the Galenia. So I'm going to put them in a group to start with. And I'm going to have another group. I'm going to repeat another group going crosswise. And I have them on about 18-inch centers, maybe 15-inch to 18-inch centers. So when I have them that close together, that means I want a dense planting. I'm looking at this becoming dense. And when I have a dense planting, I want to put 2 of them right here. I want some room in between the dense planting so I can bring something through it. So I've got another dense planting here. I've got those 2 there, and I think I'm going to repeat 2 of them right here. And this is just an emotional feeling, but yet I'm relating to these plants based on how they're going to relate with the Coreopsis and Stachy's summer crush. So now I have, and I also have this space in between, which is a little farther apart, but it's still a nice carry through. You can see how bigger, small, small, and bigger. Okay, so now I'm looking at summer crush. I'm looking at a vertical look, and I'm looking at something that's going to bloom in late June, July, and I'll have a nice vertical look August, September, October. So I'm going to take the Stachy summer crush, and I'm just going to, I want that vertical look to go through here, and I'm going to carry it through kind of on an angle. I have them on the eraser. Have them on about 15-inch centers. And then when I look at I'm going to make a change here and move this Galenia a little bit. Move that back here, give that again about 18, 15-inch centers. So I've got this Stachy's flowing through here, and I'm going to end up putting Stachy's right here too. And have them on about 15 inches of a very vertical look. So I have it flowing through here, and I'm going to put the mounding Coreopsis coming through here. Now I have, oops, I'm out of my grid. Sorry, I got carried away. And I'll put another Coreopsis here. I have them on about 12-inch center, so this will be a tight flow of butter yellow going this way. So I have the mound going through the vertical. I have the nice group of Galenia with the white flowers of the white flowers. So I have mounding vertical, direct vertical, and have the mounding Coreopsis coming through. And the Coreopsis then will tie everything together. See the river of it going through here. And I have the Galenia. Now put another Coreopsis here and one here. And then I'll review that. Okay, how do I look? And I'll put one out here, right on the edge. The edge might be difficult, but I want to put it there. I'll feel good. It's right on the edge of the, and if this edge is turf, I'll probably take this out because I can't plant it 4 inches from the edge of the bed. It'll go onto turf, so I might take that out. But that's an assessment of what this edge runs into next. Where does this edge go? Where does this edge go? And where does that edge go? So again, most of these were selected not for, I initially selected them for flower color, but I didn't place them based on the flower color. I placed them based on growth rate, growth habit, and how they would grow into each other, so that way I can have a plant community that relates well to itself as it matures, and at the same time, what dynamics are going to take place here. And with these plants, I don't get a lot of reseeding. The Stachy's might be the only one that reseeds at a heavier level than the Coreopsis or the Galenia. So, but the community will be so tight that I'll see very little Stachy's competition, but that doesn't mean what is growing in this area, the Stachy's won't seed this way or that way. So I keep trying to understand what is it I'm creating and what is it I'm getting into my future, and to be aware of that. And you can't predict every single move the future has, but you can have some awareness of it. And I want to relate this back to how these thoughts came to me and how I decided I think I need to share this with you. It was taking a walk through a black oak savanna in the Kettle Moraine and seeing the distinguishing differences between each black oak, the branching, the location of each oak, and then understanding what ground layers are taking place and how those ground layers are affected based on the branching of the oak, letting what degree of light coming through at different times. So there's all these systems related concepts. And that's what I always leave with, is I have to have a system and understanding of how the plants are picked, how the plants are placed, and how the plants are cared for. And then when you do that, you can manage time and money at a very comfortable level. And then you have to ask yourself sometimes, what is time and money? You know, what the time and money is something that our culture takes very seriously. It's how much time do you have and how much money can you afford to do things. So we really need to show our clients and customers that if you can manage time and money based on the plant selections you make and the time it takes to care, love, and nurture the planting, you'll see that if the planting stays healthy, and will be healthy because of good placement, that your time and money can level off, and that way you're managing the investment of people, and you're also creating something healthy and beautiful that you can keep enhancing and adding value to. Because sometimes something can be appreciated and be beautiful without have to be taken apart. You can go to a beautiful remnant prairie, and you don't have to know any plants in there. You can just feel really connected to it and joyful and happy just by witnessing it. And then sometimes when I witness that, and I don't have to know every plant, I feel a connection. And that connection is, I think, life relating to life. And I'm trying to share that with you, but it's very difficult to share. It's like taking a picture of the Grand Canyon and showing your friends. They don't care. They don't want to see a picture of the Grand Canyon because it's not the same as being there. They would say, "Oh, that looks good. Wow, did you get new shoes?" You know, they're going to be looking at your shoes or your shirt. So a lot of times the appreciation you have for what you're witnessing is shared with you. And then you take that appreciation to what you're doing next. So I have one more grid before we get on the game board. And I used 3 of our more common native plants that are available. It's availability. I think we have maybe 150 herbaceous native plants for different habitats that are readily available that you can find at different nurseries. We're still short maybe 300 to 400 more herbaceous native plants, maybe 300 that nobody's growing. That's because they're somewhat difficult to grow, but that's because no one can make money on it right away because you have to find the plants, locate the sources, and grow them. And a lot of nurseries aren't people that go out and find and locate plants. So we need a better coordinated effort on people helping people, a lot of botanists helping nurseries locate some of the native plants and bring those into our production so we can add, we got to add more diversity. You can't just have a prairie that's big blue stem Indian grass, Monarda, Retidiba, some New England asters. I mean, it's good to create healthy soil because you got the living and dying of roots of the big blue stem Indian grass and panicum and maybe a little blue stem. But the diversity just isn't there. And but that's another episode, and that's for other people, I think, to share with you in more detail. So here I have little blue stems, Zaccharium. And first I'm going to put in my little islands of Coreopsis palmata. I'm putting them on 15-inch centers. And again, I'm just drifting them through more intermingled. And Coreopsis palmata does spread. It's a short rhizomatous plant. So I think right now I have enough. Then I'm going to put in Desmodium illinoense. It's a legume with a beautiful pink kind of upright flower, slightly arching. Doesn't flower till later midsummer flower. And I'm going to put some of those in. I'm going to just space them a little apart, put 2 or 3 together. And this plant does seed a little bit. And it's a good legume, so you also get nitrogen fixing, and you'll get the living and dying of the bunch grass roots, the little blue stem. So again, you'll be building healthy soil, which is a big contribution to, one of the bigger contributions our native bunch grasses do, is the living and dying of their extensive root system every 3 to 4 years, regenerating that. That gives us we're in a good direction for healthy soils with that volume of organic matter. And I learned that from Jerry Wilhelm. So it's all the partnerships you create with other people that build a strong bond for the direction you start to go. It's not, if you're going to sit there thinking you know everything, buckle up, because there's so much you're not going to know. We can't do things independently anymore. Independence, you can only carry things so far before you run out of what you know, and you just start repeating over and over again what you believe. And a lot of times you fall short on your projects. So it's all about collaboration and partnerships. People you can call and talk to is the most valuable thing you have. Where did I go with that? Huh? I'm trying to sketch something. All of a sudden I'm talking about collaboration. But it's important. Okay, so I'll take another desmodium. And I look at the gaps I have here. Okay, the rest of this I'm putting in little blue stem. I just want little blue stem drifting all through here. So then again I review it, but I want to put it in first to see what I'm reviewing. Do I have too much little blue stem? Here. So I've got a matrix of little blue stem, Coreopsis palmata, desmodium, illinois, and I know the desmodium is going to seed around freely, so I don't want to put that many in because I know I'll get more. And then I have to have the knowledge, or I have to coach somebody to make sure they know how to hoe it out when they see it. Or you can put fewer in and let them reseed within the little blue stem as time goes by. So those are decisions you make based on who's going to care for it. If you got somebody that really can't recognize it coming up as a seedling, maybe you take out a few more and put in either another Coreopsis or another little blue stem, and then allow the seedlings to come up because they're not recognizable by the person taking care of it. So you just don't want to be dominated by the legume, 5 to 10 year period. So okay, I look at desmodium, I got desmodium, 2 desmodium here, I got 2 here. So that's, I think, more than enough. I got 3 here, and I think I'm taking 1 out. I don't need 3. I think I'll put a Coreopsis right there. So I got 2, 2, 2, and that's going to seed around, like I said, 5, 10 years. If it's not recognized, it'll become a little more dominant. And I got, what I like is a little blue stem, Schizachyriums flowing through here. So again, you go back to the 3 plants you think you know well, or you know well, and then see what percentages and how you combine those 3 together. And then when you're done, assess it, what's the workability of it? I keep using that word. Workability is the outcome of your actions. Can you take care of this thing? Or who's going to take care of it? Can you be a good coach and make sure they have an understanding of how much fun they're going to have and how joyful it will be to take care of this? And they have to love it. You can't really put gardens in, and why would you put a garden in and not love what you're doing? That doesn't make any sense. So, okay. If you do have any questions on that, and if there's ideas and thoughts you want to share, just let me know in the comments, and I'll try to get back to you before the next 2 weeks, because next 2 weeks things change quickly, so we'll be having a different kind of fun. All right, let's get to the game boards. Well, welcome back to the game board. I'm very excited. This works out really well. I like this. It works good with the students too, that we can actually lay the plants out and discuss our patterns. So I went back to the book that you thought you appreciated a few of the pictures out of here. So I said, well, why not do 2 more? And the one I'm working with now is, I think it's on page 69. And you'll see the photo as it comes up. This is some composition of a planting I did at the Art Institute, the modern wing of the Art Institute in Chicago. And this goes up to the Sullivan Arch. So it has Stachys humilo, Calameris blue star, Echolea heliglashoff, and let's see, Phlox blue paradise, and Calamagrostis carforster, and Calamintha nepeta subspecies nepeta. So I'm going to make it a much smaller planting because I've only got this much square feet to work with. I don't have that whole area. But what you can do is, if you look at the square footage, you can stretch it out. So if I put 3 here, you can stretch that to 6, to 9, to just keep everything in relationship to what it looks like on the smaller grid. And that's why I kind of like doing this, because there's no like I mentioned earlier, there's no rules. You can put plants pot to pot. You can, there's so many different ways you can work with plants. You can monitor their growth by pruning. You can get the crown to be a little wider by pruning. That's what we do in our production field. We prune the salvia so we get more basal growth for divisions the following year. I'm putting in a big blue stem and sorghastrum and andropogon. I never use those because they seeded so freely. In the garden, I'd have sorghastrum coming up in everything. So now I put sorghastrum in because I want to get the plant established. I want it to be in scale with the other plants. But I just prune it about 24 to 30 inches high. I just don't let it flower. And that way the crown will get wider. You'll have more shoots forced off the side, and I can have the plant become an adult along with all the other plants in a 5-year period as they mature and become adults. But if I don't prune it and let it seed everywhere, the whole garden, and you can see that on some of the gardens that have used sorghastrum and andropogon, they seed in, and then they become the dominant plant within the garden as all the younger plants can't compete with the grass for space and for sunlight. So you just do some selective pruning. And there's a book that's been out for a long time. Well, I shouldn't say it that way. For quite a few years. Tracy DiSabuto, Aust. And her book is really good on pruning techniques of plants. It came out in the 90s. Very well done, very good information. And I think she has another edition that came out. But it gives you good thoughts about pruning to get plants to rebloom or to stunt their growth and be shorter. And there might even be information on there on root pruning perennials too. So it's a very good book. Okay, so let's take a look at this. I'm going to have Heligalashoff. I got Heligalashoff. I have Sedges officinalis Umlo. I have Calamirus Blue Star. And what am I looking for? Calamintha. Ooh. Calamintha. What color do I have? I wish I had a white, but I don't have a white. So you know what wishing gets you? It gets you nothing. Okay. So I'm going to make up a white, and I'm going to make up white with orange. So I think, why not, right? And that should be, that's like my bumper sticker is why not, you never know. And if you can live with why not, you never know, you never know. So who knows what occurrences you'll have in your world. Okay, so I got the key to start with. And what I'm going to start with, let's put in at the bottom of the picture, Heligalashoff. And again, my proportions are going to be smaller because I'm only working with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm working with 25 square feet. This is probably 4 times that size. So I'm going to put Heligalashoff here, Heligalashoff here, and then behind that, I'm going to have, you know what, I'm going to be a little daring. I'm going to put one more Heligalashoff right here. And I'm going to put Calamirus Blue Star, 1, Calamirus Blue Star, 2. Growth rate, growth habit, Heligalashoff gets vertical. It'll lean into the, Calamirus is going to get vertical, but kind of a moundy vertical. So it'll be this high, so it's more mounding than vertical. Heligalashoff has strong stems. So because of the strong stems, that'll lean into the Calamirus Blue Star. It's not going to flop, it's going to lean, and it'll beautifully lean into the Calamirus Blue Star. And then I have a Blue Star maybe up here. And let's see what else we have, Blue Star. And then we have Sedges Umlo coming over here. Umlo, Lumlo, Umlo. Yeah, I'll put one there too. And then we have Calamintha in between. So I'll put some Calamintha, one there. And one here. Okay, now I got that corner. So I'm looking at the picture. And what am I thinking? I've got the Phlox Blue Paradise. Oops. I'm screening through my pictures, right? Phlox Blue Paradise. So what I don't want to do right now is confuse you by putting the Phlox Blue Paradise on. See, now this is where field adjustments. Okay, so what I'm going to do is finish off with the Calamintha here. Oops, put a Calamintha here. I'm going to take this Calamintha, put it here. I'm going to put Calamiris here. So I got group, 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 group. And I'm going to take this one out. And I'm going to start the Karl Forster back there, but I'm not going to, because I need one more Calamiris here. And then if we can look at that, I'm going to take the plants off and I'm going to start the background with a clean slate. I can't get that much with that much height difference on 25 square feet. And I don't want to mislead you thinking that's doable. So take a look at this. And then behind that, we'll start the Phlox Blue Paradise. And I'll show that on a new grid. So let's put this aside for a minute. And I'm going to pick up all the pieces. Now I'm going to start here, and you'll see the Calamintha, right, that we left off on the last grid. And behind that will be the Phlox Blue Paradise. Okay. So actually I have Calamiris and Calamiris. So we had Calamiris here. It goes over the Calamintha. And then we have Karl Forster. Now here's where we have to get really creative. See this hot pink? This is blue. So okay. Hot pink is blue. Now some of you out there go, oh, I can't. Hot pink can't be. Well, yes, it can. Hot pink can be blue. So we'll put the Karl Forster. Put the Karl Forster over here. I got them spaced out. And then we'll put Phlox Blue Paradise here. Phlox Blue Paradise here. And we'll put Phlox Blue Paradise back here. So I've got enough room for Karl Forster, Blue Paradise, Karl Forster. And I've got a Calamiris here. And that's, as you saw in the other one, that's jumping over the Calamintha. And I'm going to throw one more Calamiris. So I have the Calamiris, Calamintha, and up before that I have the Stachys officinalis, and then I have the Achillea heliglashoff right here from that other grid that you saw. So that's basically, and then I just review it. Because again, everything I showed you, the pink that's blue, that doesn't matter because we haven't bought that, we haven't paid any for it, and then we're just looking at the grids we put together. We're exercising our mind. Our brain is in there. We always carry a brain around. It's the mind. It's the way we use the brain with what we see with our minds everywhere. So I'm exercising my brain with my mind. Here's what I need to look at and appreciate, how I put these patterns together based on plant growth rate and growth habit. And again, it's very exciting because there's nothing real, but yet it is real. And how do I feel about the way I put it together? There's my 15 inches, 15, okay. It feels good. And then what the dynamics will this be into the future, if my soil gets too dry, my Phlox paniculata, the Paradise Blue, is going to decline and disappear. So I have to realize, am I going to be able to water in the back with the Phlox, the Blue Paradise, because that plant can weaken in dry drought conditions. Or I can put something else in, maybe a Vernonia, Summer Swan Song, in place of the Phlox Blue Paradise. So those are the options I can think about while I'm standing right here knowing what the cultural conditions are or how they will change or how they won't become what I thought they'd be or what I discussed with the client. So it's a good way to keep reviewing and reviewing before you actually spend the money, put the plan in, and realize that you didn't think about those changes that were taking place. Okay. Well, I'll collect these up and we'll go to our next page. That has Lobelia syphilitica. We have Echinacea alba and Molinia. They got Molinia Edith Dudsis and Eupatorium Little Joe. So let's look at who we're going to have to represent those plants. So I've got Lobelia. I'll go with the blue. And you're saying out there, Roy, you used pink for blue before. Why don't you use pink for? Well, I have blue. So now I can put blue as blue. Okay, then we'll have the pink will be Eupatorium Little Joe. And then I'll make this light yellow green be Echinacea alba. And I need Molinia Edith Dudsis. Edith Dudsis is a nice Molinia. It's, well, just look it up. You'll find out. You'll find out more information by looking up the meantime. But I like the height. It gets around 36, maybe 40 inches, and it's fairly vertical. It's a nice medium Molinia. And it grows mostly, you need average to moist soil. And then what I found with the Molinias, and this isn't scientifically proven, but with the Molinias I found that I've been growing since the 90s, the hybridized ones that keep getting done vegetatively have very few seedlings, at least at Northwind. I've not any of the hybrid Morflame, Morhex, Heidenbrot, Windspiel, Transparent. I've not had any of these seed around. But the ones I started from seed that I bought from Halido, I've had those can't seed around. I started them from seed. I thought there'd be some selections, and there weren't. They have seeded around. So I think the more they're done vegetatively, they don't have that reseeding heavy capability. And again, this isn't scientific. This is just after growing Molinia since the late 1980s. So I don't think that that's as big an issue with them seeding around as some of the seed plants from seed that you would do from seed right away. I just thought I'd let you know that. So let's take a look at it. We got white coneflower, Echinacea alba. We'll start here. Echinacea alba. We got in the picture, there's 2 or 3 of them. Let me get this off. Lobelia syphilitica. Have that back here. I'll put 1, 2, 2, 3 there. And then through there, I'll have the Molinia back here. Molinia, Edith Dudsis, Molinia, and that'll be that see-through element. When you see this, you'll see the lobelia, as you see on the picture. You can see through the beautiful flowering stems of the Molinia. And the question is, how do I feel? How do I feel about what I'm looking at? I like the way I can see through. I like the white coneflowers. In the image, oh, I'm missing one element. Sorry. Echinacea. I had Echinacea purpurea in here. So I'll move this up, move the Molinia, put that up, and I'm going to throw in this as, I'll put 1 Echinacea purpurea in there, and actually I'll put 1 on the edge, which I shouldn't do, but for my own visualization, I got Echinacea and Molinia here, white coneflower. But you could bring the white coneflowers out here, and you could have a blend of Molinia and white coneflowers, which would be very nice, and you can stretch that out maybe 10 or 12 feet. or 6 feet or 8 feet, but you can have something stretched out going to another pattern and just mix Millennia Edith Duchess with the white coneflowers, and you can see how you see through them. And then you could dabble in a few more Echinacea purpurea, having your Monet moment, and then have the Rudbeckia, the Lobelia syphilitica as your spikes in the blue background. And we have another Millennia here. There. So I like this. I feel good. The coneflower, the white coneflowers, I discussed having that stretched out, the Millennia. You'd have a group of Millennia here and here and here, and white coneflowers, and again you go 6, 7, 8, whatever fits the context of your square footage or the style of your garden. Now I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I don't have room for the little Joe. So let me take this off again. So you can see from the earlier grid 2 seconds ago, I'm just pushing this up and I'm pulling that down. And that way I can put little Joe in. So I have Eupatorium Little Joe here. Little Joe gets about 40 inches tall, 40, 42, 40, depends on soil moisture. I will just put 3 of them. And again, if my scale was bigger, I could push that backwards too. I could put more Little Joe in. And if it was really cool, what could I mix? If I put more Little Joe in, what could I mix Little Joe? Say I could put 3 to 6 more Little Joe in if I had the scale. What could I put between that? Think about it. The first thing that hits my head is to pick up the Millennia. I could put Millennia Transparent. That would be a beautiful fountain in between Little Joe when it was flowering. And that's again with scale and have context, have those relating well to each other. So again, it's what you see into your future too, based again on your square footage. But right now I got enough, a little it kind of mimics the photo. And I got the Millennia. I'm going to take one more Millennia and put that right here. So I have Millennia, Lobelia. In front of the Lobelia would be another Lobelia here. This would be more Millennia, the purple coneflower. And then going back, white coneflower. And again, you can stretch the white coneflower with more Millennia Edith Duchess. And having that little combination of Millennia Transparent, if you want to go deeper, with the Eupatorium Little Joe. And see, it's kind of cool. I'm just looking at it standing right here in a restaurant. So you can be anywhere and design things, but just think how comfortable be in your, in the house, have your table and your game board. And it's practice. I always get a kick out how sometimes I can be driving along in my truck and I can have a conversation about so many things with somebody next to me, and I'm not wondering, do I stop at a stop sign? Should I put gas? What? I'm just driving because you've been practicing driving since you were 16. And with that volume of practice, all of a sudden driving just becomes something you do. You don't even think about, okay, stop sign coming, hold it, don't talk to me, I got to stop at the stop. Uh-oh, light's coming up, is it going to turn? You're not thinking about it, you're reacting to everything so simply. It's because you've practiced that endlessly. So I keep thinking, boy, what if I practiced a piano like that? As much as I drove and I played a piano, well, I could be such a good piano player. But you can be anything that way. It's not just wanting to be good. I mean, I'd like to be a better designer, and I'm just going to keep working towards being the best I can be. I'm just not going to get comfortable with what I'm doing right now, because once you get comfortable, there's not much left, is there? So never be comfortable or never be content. Just keep striving for what you can see next. And again, like I mentioned earlier, get in touch with people. Your partnerships, your friends, that's the sharing that really makes everything kind of have a whole feeling of being with. So thanks everybody for hanging out with me in the game room. And like I said, our next show, I think we're going to look at plants emerging in spring and seeing texture, colors, and what bulb combinations we can work with. It's really just paying attention. And the other part, having fun. If you're not having fun, And people go, well, boy, you're having too much fun. Well, maybe. So thanks, everybody.